Hello everyone, we are going to start with another lecture of APM, and in this lecture we are going to mainly deal with the concept of with question number 3 of mock paper. So let's start with this. A company manufactures bed and mattresses in two factories in Zland. The company manufactures three bed types: hotel, standard and budget. So these are three types of beds which the company is manufacturing. Hotel and standard beds are manufactured in Factory 1, while budget beds and mattresses are manufactured in Factory 2, and the details of the four products are as follows. The design of the standard bed changes infrequently, so there are less chances that demand of this product will change, design, anything will change. And the most design changes are superficial. Standard beds are mainly sold to large furniture retailers who hold inventory in their stores. Hotel beds are made exclusively for the hotel industry. So this is some exclusive product, right? They are similar to standard bed except they are made for stronger material and require regular substantial redesigning. Regular substantial redesigning are required by different hotel chains, right? And these beds are usually supplied to customers on JIT basis, and the company holds no inventory. The company beds are clearly branded in hotels, and hotel guests who find the beds comfortable may go on to buy similar beds from the company standard range. Budget beds are made from cheaper material and sold to an online discount furniture retailer who purchases an entire year supply at the beginning of the year. Budgeted beds have retained the same design for many years. So obviously, you are not expecting a lot from budget beds. Hotel bed seems to be an exclusive product for the company. Standard products are the products which are the general, regular product of the company. Mattresses fit all of the company's bed through these, though these are a range of different levels of prices and the quality. So mattresses is obviously required for for all type of beds, so that is a complementary product. Now, what is in ABM? They are saying the finance director believes that the company needs to focus more on the process that add value in order to improve the overall performance, right? So whatever adds value, we will continue with that. And that an activity-based management approach could help to achieve this. The finance director has recently attended a training course on the use of ABM, and she is keen to implement this at the company. At the first step, the FD wants to look at the cost of maintenance department in factory number 1. So in fact, in the first factory, we are manufacturing only two products. I think hotel and standard beds are manufactured in the factory number 1. Um, okay. The company currently absorb overhead cost to product on production volume basis, and under current absorption maintenance department overhead basis. So this is basically how they are absorbing their current product cost, right? And under the current costing method, maintenance department overhead cost for hotel and standard bed is 12.04 per unit. So in case it's not given, we can even calculate it as well. The FD would like to understand how the use of activity-based costing could affect maintenance department costs allocated to each product group. An analyst has done some preliminary work on this in appendix number 1. Now, from here the requirement is starting. So let's try to mark it in a different color. Calculate the overhead cost per unit allocated to hotel beds from the maintenance department in factory number 1 using activity-based costing approach. So this is actually the first requirement. Right? This is actually the first requirement. You only have to calculate for hotel. You don't have to calculate for the other bed. And compare this to overhead cost per unit using the current costing method. Current costing method is given in the question that the cost per unit in the current costing method is 12.04. So you have to compare it. Advice on how the analysis of activity-based costs in the maintenance department could help to improve the performance, right? How you will improve the performance? ABC is primarily concerned with the cost of the product. So you obviously you need to identify how the cost can be improved, and definitely they are more interested in something which is adding value in order to improve overall performance, right? So this is something which they really want to do. So that's something on which we have to comment on this, right? So let's move to appendix number one. In appendix number one, they have given you a preventive. So let's close this. Okay. In appendix number one, preventive machine maintenance cost is given 59,000, setup cost is given, machine repair, other overheads, and the description is also given. So let's see what is given here. Preventive machine maintenance says that machine undergo maintenance every 4 production runs. So this is sort of preventive machine maintenance. Apparently, it seems that we are generally inspecting the machine and we are generally, taking care of the machine. Something which is going to prevent the machine, the major machine problem. A setup is required for every production run. So the more batches you will manufacture, there will be more setup cost. Machine breakdown on average. Machine breakdown on average once in every 25 production runs when producing hotel beds, but only break down once in every 50 production runs when producing the standard bed. So standard bed, there are less machine breakdown in hotel beds. Hotel beds are 25 and standard beds there are 50. So in the standard beds, there are less chances of machine breakdown. Overheads are apportioned using production volumes, right? So you have to calculate cost per unit under activity-based costing approach in this case, and then you have to and then you have to compare it, right? So let's start with a spreadsheet. Let's see what we can do here. Okay, let's try to adjust it a little bit. Okay, so there are four cost pools, right? So let's start with preventive and machine maintenance, right? And preventive and machine maintenance, the overall cost is 59,000, right? Let's write overheads and then cost pool, right? So machine maintenance cost is machine undergoes maintenance every 4 production runs. So first of all, we have to calculate how many production runs, right? Let's calculate the quantity of production runs here. Uh, okay, there is one more option. Production run we have to calculate for setup. So we can, okay, fine, let's do it in some other manner. Production run is, let's say that the question says an annual production sales is 16,500 and units produced per production run is 165. That means in one batch you are producing 165 units, right? So production volume is 16,500. Batch size is 165. So the number of setups or the number of batches, whatever you call it, will be 165,000 divided by 165, right? So these are the number of batches for standard, right? And the question says that machine undergo maintenance every 4 production runs. So, sorry, preventive maintenance will be 100 divided by, this is standard. For standard, it's around 50 per production run for standard. And same thing which we will do for hotel, right? So this will be 8,000 and 40, and this will be 8,000 divided by 40, and then this 200 will be divided by 25, right? So total number of preventive maintenance will be 10, total number of production runs will be 200, right? So cost pool is 10, right? So overhead Recovery rate will be 59,000 divided by 10 is 5,900, and then mm, okay, and then overheads for hotel industry will be 5,900 multiplied by 8, right? 47,200. The second one is number of setups, right? Number of setup costs is 88,500, and the total number of setups are 300, right? So 8,500 divided by 300 is 295, and then 295 will be multiplied by number of batches production runs for hotel, right? The third one is machine repair. Okay, so oops, I think we did something wrong. Oops, sorry. Machine undergoes maintenance for production runs. Sorry, it's for production runs. Mm, okay, everything else will take care of itself. Okay, now they are saying this machine breakdown. Machine breakdown will be of 50 and 25. So the thing which we calculated was the number of machine breakdown. So this will be 100 divided by standard is around 50, right? 50 after every 50 production run machine breakdown. So that is 2. And this 200 divided by 25, and this will be equals to this plus this. And that's why I always say that you need to connect your spreadsheets. So total number of machine breakdown is 10, and this is 118,000. So this will be divided by 10 is this, and this 11,800 multiplied by total is 8. And the last one is other overheads. Other overheads are 29,500, and the total number of production quantity is 16,500 plus 8,000, because that is dependent upon number of units production volume, right? So this will be divided by, okay, let's do it like this. Let's connect this. Okay, so this divided by this, and for hotel, the same figure will be multiplied by 8,000, right? So sum will be this, and so, and the number of units are, this is overheads under APC, right? Over production volume is 16,000, oh, 8,000, right? So cost overhead per unit will be, I hope I've not done any mistake here. Yeah, 25.29, right? And overhead under absorption costing was around 12 point, you know how much it was given? Let me check. Mm, it was given here 12.04 per unit. So, right. So in case this 12.04 is not given in the question, what we can do is 295,000 is the total overhead, and total overheads divided by total number of units. You will get the same 12.04, right? So that is another way to calculate this, but fortunately examiner has given you this. Now you have to comment on this part, that how you can because overheads are quite huge, right? There is an increase in overhead by around 25 minus 12.04, 13.255, which is more than the overhead per unit cost, right? So let's try to understand how this is the first part of the question where examiner asks you to calculate cost per unit, right? Now, what else is required? We are done till here. Calculate overhead cost per unit allocated from and compare this to the overhead cost per unit on the current costing method, right? Current costing method, it was 12.04. Now it's 12.02. So why this happened? Let's try to compare it, right? I'm just writing some pointers and you need to expand it, right? Okay. So if you see this overall part, why this cost per unit is so high, the answer is quite simple. Uh, if you see the number of batch size, now try to concentrate here. The overhead recovery rate of preventive and machine maintenance is dependent upon maintenance, right? The question says that machine and maintenance undergo for every production runs, right? Four production runs for everyone, so that's fine, right? But the number of setups, right? Number of setups, they are saying that 295 is the cost of one setup, right? Now, if you see standard product has 165 units in one batch, right? And hotel has around hotel has around 40 units per batch. So if you see the number of the setup cost, which is around 295, one setup we are producing 165 units of a standard, right? That means if you divide this 295 with 165, setup cost per unit for standard product is 1.18, right? Similarly, if you same 295, if you divide it with 40, sorry, let's connect this. You divide same 295 with 40, which is this figure, this will be around 7.35. So setup cost is huge in hotel because when in one setup you are just manufacturing 40 units of hotel and in one setup you are manufacturing 165 units of standard. That means you are producing almost four times the standard units uh, when you are producing one bed, right? So obviously the cost per unit is too high, right? Similarly, if you see the next part, next one is dependent upon machine breakdown, right? So machine breakdown, if you see that machine breakdown concept, so in this part they are saying that machine breakdown on average 25 production run when production hotel breakdown, but 50 production runs for standard. So it means that uh, the the standard product is consuming half of the machine repair time as compared with the portal because let's suppose because the quantity is not same right now, so obviously we are not on the same page. But if you consider that both, let's suppose, I'm just for the sake of understanding, let's suppose both product have 8,000 units to manufacture, right? Now, what will happen is that, or let's suppose both products have 140 batches to manufacture. In the first case, since standard product in a standard product machine get breakdown after every 50 production runs. So that means this divided by 50, it will be just around 3. Let's make it 150 in both cases. So 3 times there will be a machine breakdown. But in the hotel case, since after every 25 production run, machine is getting a breakdown, that means if you divide this with 25, you are getting 6 machine breakdowns. So even if the production units are same, number of batches are same, hotel business will consume double production time. So if someone says that why this thing is happening, this thing is happening because mainly because of two reasons, right? The first reason is that the first reason is that number of units manuf manufactured in uh, per batch of hotel bed is almost 1/4 of standard beds. Therefore, the setup cost. Let's talk about setup cost. Setup cost per unit of standard is around 1.18, and for hotel it's around how much? 7.35, 7.375, right? Secondly, second reason is what? Second reason is that number of machine breakdown of hotel beds is double compared to standard, and that's why it is consuming double overheads as compared with standard. Like in absorption costing. Okay. Third one is other overheads, right? Other overheads proportion will not change in ABC as the distribution base is same, right? And we left this first part, preventive machine maintenance. Okay, preventive machine maintenance, what is happening here? Both product require for production runs, but the problem is that since this product is consuming more number of batches, obviously its cost will be almost 4 times, right? So if we are manufacturing one batch, if we are let's suppose we are just manufacturing 4 batches, right? So standard product in 4 batches, we will manufacture around 4 multiplied by 165 units, right? In hotel, we will manufacture 4 multiplied by 40 units, right? So let's suppose this cost is around 786, right? 786 is the cost. So 786 is the cost, and if you divide 786 with 660, it's around 1.19. And if you, because 786 is the cost of one uh, one time this repair is happening, this problem is happening. So if you divide this with 160, you will get 4.9. So it's almost 4 times, right? So since the production quantity of total is again 1/4 compared with standard, its cost is almost 4 times compared with standard, right? So that's basically the problem. That's actually what happened. Now, how can how can we compare it with absorption? In absorption costing, what is happening? In absorption costing, hotel beds were receiving same amount of overheads despite of using or consuming much more resources. Right? So that's basically the reason why the a hotel bed cost is more, because now since we are distributing in a proper manner, the cost almost everywhere, almost there are two areas where the cost is almost four times, right? And there's one, like if you multiply this with four, you will get this cost, approximately this cost, right? And same thing is happening in this case, right? So in this case, it's almost not exactly four times, because it's 165 to 40. The ratio is different, a little bit different, not exactly one fourth, right? So that's basically why there's a little bit difference. If you multiply this with four, it's a sorry. Um, okay, then there's a difference, because a setup is required for every production run. I think we considered overhead setup 295. So I think there is a mistake here. It should be 295 divided by 65, 1.78. And it should be, just a second. Technically, if you multiply it with 4, we should get, yeah, it's 7.15. It's now fine. So that's basically the reason why this happened, right? So you can just copy and paste this in Word. I mean, the same thing which we write in Word. Now, what is the next part? This requirement is not finished yet, because this is the first part of the question. Compare this to overhead cost per unit. Advise how the analysis of activity-based cost in the maintenance department could help to improve its performance. Now, you have to analyze how this performance can be improved, right? So for improvement, you need to understand what is the value added activity and what is the non-value added activity, because they are saying value added activity in order to improve the overall performance, right? So in this case, let me try to open word processor. Okay. So in this case, what is the value added activity? See, there are three activities: preventive machine maintenance, setup, machine repair, and other overheads, right? So we can say that preventive machine, no, you have to justify preventive machine, why we are doing preventive machine maintenance, because we don't want to have much losses in the form of, I mean, we don't want our machines to break down and something like that. So this activity is to keep machines working, right? So this is a value added activity, as this will help the company to manufacture products on time and make, because there was something related to JIT also. Let me try to check where it was. There was something related to JIT. Not here. Yeah. Hotel beds, they are saying these beds are usually supplied customers on a JIT basis and the company holds no inventory, right? So as the hotel, who is working on GIT? They are similar, but they are made to stronger. These beds are usually supplied to customers on just-in-time basis and the company holds no inventory. Since the hotel beds are supplied on JIT basis and the company does not hold any stock of it. Therefore, it is necessary to manufacture products, not products, beds on time, right? So we cannot say that preventive cost is a bad idea, right? The setup cost, though setup cost is not directly adding value to the product, but can we avoid this? No, we cannot avoid this because this is requirement of the product, right? So, but since this is a necessary cost for the manufacturing, it will not be possible for the company to avoid it, right? So it it's a gray area actually. It's not a value added activity, but it's a gray area, right? Okay. What's the next one? The next one is interesting, right? The next one is mm, machine repair. Repair, do you think repair is a value added activity? No. And machine repair is 118,000 out of 295. 118 divided by 295 makes around 40% of the overheads. It's huge. It's huge. And what is this representing? This is representing inefficiency. The fact that department is not efficiently doing the preventive maintenance, that is why this cost, that is why machine repair cost is huge. Since this is a non-value added activity, it has to be eliminated by making preventive maintenance more efficient, right? So this is basically the idea that you have to make it efficient by using this, right? And other overheads are representing the fixed overheads which cannot be mutable to any other activity like miscellaneous. Therefore, mm, but cannot be eliminated. Right. So that's basically how we can use the activity based management in order to improve the performance, right? And this part is poorly done by majority of the students because they don't know how to do it. Either they don't know how to do it, or they somehow lost the time because the exam is of 3 hours, their concentration got lost, so they just gave up in this part of the question, right? Now, what is the second part? Let's see what is in the second part, right? The second part says that um, and how many marks were attributable to this part? 15 marks, right? So how many calculations are there? Let's try to do it. There are one, two, three, four calculations. So we can say, okay, fine. Approximately 5 marks are here. Let's say 1 mark for this, 1 mark for this, 1 mark for this, 1 mark for this, 4 marks, and 1 mark for the calculation of cost per unit. Approximately 5 marks, right? And then compare in for comparison, all these points may consider 1 mark. So 1 mark each, 4 marks, and then 1 mark for comparing with absorption mark costing. So 5 marks, approximately 5 to 6 mark for this. And then where is the part? Um, and then for writing, because there are four overheads, so application 1 mark for each part of the statement. So approximately 15 marks for the overall. So that's basically how we can attribute allocate its total cost, right? And the requirement of the second requirement is quite simple. You have to discontinuation of the product group. So let's see what is given here. Though the company is currently profitable overall, the finance director believes that some product groups may be loss making, and that by discontinuing those, the company could increase its financial performance. Following on from initial ABC work on the machine maintenance factory 1, the total overhead cost per unit for the whole company have been allocated to the product group by using ABC, and that is given in appendix number 2. Now, what FD wants you to do is this, right? The FD would like you to recommend with justification. So that's something which you have to, what is happening? Uh, okay, I think it's done. Yeah. So FD would like you to recommend with justification whether the company should discontinue product of any group. So you have to justify also, and that is for 5 marks. And in appendix number 2, if you see, there are 4 products. So I think 1 mark per product makes sense. So standard bed is making profit, right? Contribution of all products are positive. That means all products are, I mean, see, if the contribution is negative, there is no way to manufacture the product. There should be, I mean, there are least possibility that the company should manufacture the product. But if contribution is positive, you can think over it, right? So standard beds are making 2640. I mean, if you see, if you want to do some calculations here, standard product is actually making a contribution of, um, okay, standard product is making a contribution of around 2640 out of total 6462. So standard product is making a contribution of 40% of the contribution margin, right? And profit, it is actually contributing 2 million divided by 969.3. It is contributing almost to 206.33% of the profit, right? So obviously standard should be continued. There is no sense of reduce of discontinuing standard, right? The problem is with hotel beds. What to do with hotel beds, because hotel beds are generating a contribution of around 6462, around 23% contribution they are generating, but how much overheads they are consuming? um okay, let me try to do it in this way. Overheads, right? how much overheads they are consuming? 2500.85 divided by 5492.7. So they are consuming approximately 45% of the overhead. That means 23% contribution, 45% of the overheads. That means around 1 million divided by 969.3. They are consuming approximately 103% loss over the total profit, right? So that is basically the amount of loss which they are incurring, right? And that's the main reason is because the overheads are quite huge. So you can think of discontinuing hotel beds, but there is a problem because if you discontinue the product, you will lose 23.21 contribution, right? And we can see that there are some overheads because we don't know the amount of overhead. There can be some fixed overheads which are here, like for example, if you see appendix number 1, there are some preventive machine maintenance costs. So there can be some engineers which you have hired whose salaries are fixed. So those salaries will be distributed to the other product. Same case, and other overheads is simply the fixed overhead. So this 29,500 will be distributed to the other products, right? So I mean, this is not something which we should consider, but I'm just trying to explain my point that if you discontinue hotel beds, we don't know how much of 2500 to 2.5 million overheads are fixed costs. So if there is a fixed cost, in that case it will not be avoided, it will be distributed to all the other products. So it's not a good, so before discontinuing hotel business, you need to make sure that is there any how much is the fixed cost proportion out of the total overheads, right? Budget beds are already making a profit. There's nothing wrong with this company. This one is generating a profit of 6462, approximately 13% contribution. And this is approximately, and this is covering up, this is not generating huge profit, but a reasonable profit, a decent profit. 969.3. So it's approximately 2.6% profit. Still 2.68%. This is a budget, and this can be, quantity can be large. Matrices are generating losses, but matrices, it's important to consider that matrices is the a product which is a complementary, it's a kind of product which the company will sell with all the other beds. So if you are not selling this, then that means there will be a product like you are selling, there's a set, like you sell bed and you sell mattresses. So definitely, if you are not selling mattresses, there are chances that your product sales will get affected, because in case you have a specialized hotel requirement, a specialized beds requirement, and you are making mattresses accordingly, and if people are unable to get similar size mattresses somewhere else, people will not come to your company for the manufacturing of beds. So 1442 divided by 6462. So it is generating approximately 22% of the contribution, but it is also considering around 1477.85 divided by 5492,700. And that's around, not 3%. How can it be 3%? Oops. Yeah, it's 27% approximately overheads, and 55850 divided by 969,300. Approximately 5% of the losses this is generating. So if you want to go for a final verdict, so final standard should be continued, right? And budget should also be continued, right? This company may think to discontinue after considering the amount of fixed overheads which is related to hotel beds, because that will be allocated to other products and can make them less profitable, right? And what about matrices? Matrices are the complementary product. Therefore, if the company is selling some customized beds, then it will be difficult for customer to get the customized matrices. Therefore, its sales may get affected. Here, what we need to do is here the need is to carefully address the non-value added activities so that the loss making products may be converted into a profit making ones, right? So that is the final conclusion, that how activity based management can help you. So if you reduce the activity, non-value added activity, that will help you in this case, because you will reduce the cost and ultimately you can increase the operating profits, right? So that's basically how you are supposed to write this part of the question, because this is just a 5 marks of 1 mark for each and 1 mark for the conclusion and overall comment. All right. So that's the debriefing mock or debriefing of for the question number 3. We will do 2 more questions, but this question required a lot of attention because majority did this question wrong. Right. Take care. Best of luck. Bye bye.